welcome to another edition of Mrs. Cford Vlogs. I'm Stephanie Crawford, and I am so glad to have you here with me. If you have been following my vlog, you will know that it's been a couple of months since I have put out any material, and normally I was doing a vlog a week, released every Tuesday. I had some changes where I left the classroom and I've become an instructional coach, and for these last couple months I've just been figuring out my role, what that makes me creatively, what am I doing, and I've discovered it's a lot. So I'm ready. Beginning of the new year, it's fitting time to come back, so I want to welcome you. And if you're a first-time listener to my vlog, thank you for coming in, or first-time viewer, thank you for joining me. I hope that you will enjoy it, get something out of it, and come back again. But enough intro, let's get down to business. I want to talk to you about a game called Tower of Madness. Tower of Madness is a lot like Kerplunk, which I'm going to be honest, I never played. I love games, but I've never played Kerplunk. But Kerplunk, if you've played it before, you know you've got like the cylinder, you've got the sticks that go through, and then marbles that are layered throughout. This game is a lot like it, except it's a Cthulhu theme, like horror-esque, and it involves that marble element, pulling a stick out to see if you drop the marble, but while also having dice and cards. So let's look at those pieces to the game. So there are a lot of different elements that go into this game, but it's so fun and it goes so quickly. And when I was playing it with my family the other night, my mind was just spinning with the ideas of how this could be applied in the classroom. And I think it can be easily adapted and that it will be a win for any classroom. So the first thing is you're still going to keep the tower element. Okay, so we're going to keep this. Now, if you actually get the Tower of Madness game, you're going to have this house structure, you're going to have these. If you have a theme that you can make it fit in with, great. My theme in the classroom was Harry Potter. I could have done a magical theme with this. For our district, the theme this year is Wizard of Oz. This wouldn't have fit in so much with that. So it could fit in with your theme, but it could be kept separate from it as well. But you're still going to keep this. Now this has all of the marbles inside of it. So you'd have this set up, and let's say this is like a boss battle or mini game in your class. So you're going to have a couple teams against each other, and ultimately they're still going to try to win. So with those location cards, here's where you have to do a little bit of that creative thinking. You're going to make up your location cards. Let's say you're in social studies and you have been studying a country. Maybe it's world history, maybe it's a period of time, maybe it's a Civil War, Revolutionary War. Your location cards could reflect that. So you can give them a title. You can use a picture here. I, again, want you to be careful about copyright images. Pixabay, Pixabay.com is a great place to get those copyright-free images that you can use for your classroom. Just be careful if you're going out there and grabbing images off Google. But you can put your location here, assign it a point value, okay, because overall in the end, you will have a point winner. So it could be that all of your teams, so like the two teams that are playing together, let's say you have a red team and a blue team. Red team gets this card with 6 points. They take this location. Okay, so now the next card up is worth 7 points. Let's say the blue team gets it. They're now ahead by a point. So by the time they end this game, each individual who earned a location is helping their team win as well. Okay, so your location cards you're going to make for your content. Now, if you are a lit teacher or an ELA teacher, your locations could be settings and stories that you've read. They could be, if you have been doing nonfiction studies, again, those locations where those nonfiction stories have taken place. You really have a lot of freedom. If you are in science, it could be places where major discoveries have taken place. If you are studying landforms or biological finds, things like that, you can shift those locations to meet things that you've talked about. Okay, so you're gonna customize those. And on those location cards, there are sometimes like abilities that happen from the locations. So this museum, it tells me if you roll 2 sets of doubles on a single throw, take from each player a random spell card, a discovery marble, or if no other choice, 1 madness marble. So you could do the same thing. Like you could say, if you roll a double, take a spell from the other player, however you set it up. If you don't want any of this, you don't have to use any of this. You could simply leave it off. Or your ability that you put down here could be as simple as roll a double and then choose to re-roll all your dice if you want to. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to put in spell cards and marbles. You can simplify it that way, and that would still let some of the location cards have those fun abilities if a person manages to get it. Okay, so that's something to think about. Another element that Tower of Madness has is this card that tracks your progress. So as a player is going through and they end up scoring, this yellow marble is used to track their points. They can get up to 12 points in a round. And let's say I got 9 points and the next person to go got 11 points, I would have to give my marble up because they're now the highest scoring player. So the highest scoring player in the round normally keeps that to keep track of it. You could still do something like that. You don't have to have the board like this. You could simply have like even a dry erase scale of 1 to 12, and then with that dry erase marker, like someone maybe makes a dot above it to show that that's where they are, puts their initial, and then if someone surpasses that score, then they erase the initial and put it up there. Or it could be simply a team name. So if you don't want them keeping track of individually who got higher, then they can keep track of the team name of who's got the highest score so far, as scored by the individual. Okay, you do want to have dice. The dice element is going to be a fun element. If you don't get the actual game, you don't have to have these special dice. Okay, they're really just, they have pictures on them to go with the theme of the game, but you can simply get 5 dice. Okay, so we have 5 dice because on the card that you are scoring on, this is what you have to do. You have to roll a 1, a 2, a 3, and then these are 2 free spots. So if you're not going to buy the actual game, or you're going to use like the dry erase idea or make your own card, you're going to want to have this space where they can keep track of their roll. Okay, so if I roll all my 5 dice, I have to keep 1 from the 5 and put it up here. So if I didn't get a 1, 2, or a 3, I have to keep 1 and put it over here. And then you keep going. So every time you can re-roll everything, but you always have to keep 1 out of it. So you could essentially re-roll 5 times, but by that 5th time, if you don't have the 1, 2, and 3, it's not happening for you. So then you would lose. If you don't get what you needed in that roll, you have to pull one of those tentacles out. You can kind of hear those marbles shifting, but nothing fell. So since nothing fell, I'm safe. And then it would pass to the next person to try to win the location, to try to win that through their roll. Okay, so the way you can adapt this to your classroom also is on here. This says you have to roll a 1, 2, and a 3. And then these 2 are for those 2 extra rolls. You could use 3 dice instead of 5 if you wanted. You could say that they still have to get a 1, 2, and a 3, but then instead of those 2 free spots, you could make up a task that has to be completed for your card. So if you are in social studies and you're studying the Revolutionary War, you could say, all right, in order to be eligible to win this location, you have to roll your 1, 2, and 3, and you have to identify a cause of the Revolutionary War. If they can't do it, then they lose. They can't, if they don't roll that 1, 2, and 3 and they can't identify their reasoning, then they would have to pull one of the tentacles and see if the marbles fall. In this, there are 3 green marbles. Once all of those 3 green marbles have fallen, they lose. The goal is to get all of your locations. So you would start with however many locations you want. Let's say you want 9 locations, so that you want them to be continuously working through. And then once they get those 9 locations, if they haven't had those 3 green marbles fall, then they've succeeded at their collaborative task. And then you would see who is the winner overall with the points based on the location cards they have. And then if you play with the other rules that are part of this, there would be points that could be awarded for the different color marbles that fall and spells that are included, which is what I kind of showed you in the overview, that there are spell cards that can happen. There are other tokens. These do not have to be a part of the game. Absolutely not. They can be put in later as you get more comfortable, but essentially this can be adapted pretty easily by simply making your own locations, assigning them a point value. If you want special abilities down here, like if you roll this, you get this benefit. Maybe they steal a point from someone else. Maybe they get rid of, if you play with the madness marbles, the red marbles that fall. Maybe if they get madness marbles but they get one of these locations, they can give a madness marble to another player. That's up to you to decide. So essentially, you need to make your location cards, and then you need to decide with your dice what kind of tasks are you going to put with it. Are you going to make them roll a 1, 2, and a 3, and then have a question that they have to answer each time in order to get it? If you do 9 locations, you could have 9 different questions that they have to answer, 1 for each round that they go around on a location. Do you want it to be people working individually, or do you want it to be people working in pairs? Those are the things that you have to decide. But once you get that figured out, it's going to be easy to get going and so fun, because there's the element first of the dice that they can't control that. There's some luck there. Second, pulling the tentacle. If they have to pull, then is the marble going to fall out? Are we going to lose or are we going to win? And then the location cards tie it all into your content area and give it that idea too of like, oh, I want this location. I need to do this task. I need to know the answer to this question because I want the points assigned from this. Okay, so character cards are also a part of this. You have these you do not have to include characters in there, but characters could be fun. You could make your own character cards that were with your content. So for instance, in ELA, since we read The Giver, I might have character cards that were all from The Giver. These character cards tell you who they are, but then also have, like, if you roll a double 5, this happens. You don't have to do that at all. They're not necessary, but it could be an element of fun that you bring into it. If you're in science class, your character cards could be famous scientists. So I hope after our tutorial you feel like you can take this idea and make it your own and have a new game to use in your classroom. Whether you're gamified or not, it's always great to take the plunge and have a new activity, something that kids can really get into, that you can tie to your content area, and that just brings a level of fun for you and your students. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Mrs. Cford Vlogs, and I hope to see you next time. As always, if you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.